Hello, today we are going to discuss cell size and efficiency. So, first, why are cells so small? So cells are small in order for them to maximize the ratio of surface area to volume. So that's the ratio of basically how much cell membrane to cytoplasm, which is the gel essentially inside the cell. Smaller cells have a higher surface area to volume ratio, which allows for more molecules, ions, and nutrients to move across the cell membrane surface area per unit of cytoplasmic volume. Smaller cells can get molecules, ions, and nutrients into the cell very quickly, while also removing the waste from the cell. It takes longer for large cells to move molecules, ions, and nutrients throughout the cell, and they additionally require more energy and resources to survive in smaller cells. So smaller cells have an advantage over larger cells because they can get molecules, ions, and nutrients in and out very, very quickly, and they don't need as much nutrients, ions, molecules, energy to survive. Besides size of cells, the shape of cells also influences their surface area to volume ratio, which means that the shape influences the overall cellular efficiency. So again, that's why surface area to volume ratio matters. It's because that basically indicates the overall cellular efficiency of the cell. So here's a little bit of math explaining it. We have two shapes, both of approximately the same volume, but they have drastically different perimeters and shapes to them. So I'm using 2D images here just because it's simpler than having to look at 3D images. But essentially with the regular rectangular shape, you have, you can see the numbers there, but you end up getting a ratio of 0.383. While with the irregular shape, because there's so much more perimeter per volume, you end up getting a higher ratio, almost double, of 0.613. So basically, the smaller a cell is and the more irregularly shaped the cell is, both those highly influence cellular efficiency. For example, human intestinal cells. These are very cellularly efficient because they have tons of surface area on top of them. Those microvilli, which is basically those little finger-looking things on top of the cells on the right side, those are basically just cell membrane going up and down, up and down, up and down, which means there's tons of areas on that cell's surface area to absorb nutrients. And that makes sense because the whole point of the intestine is to absorb nutrients from the food that you eat. So intestinal cells are just an example of highly efficient cells, and that's largely because they have a lot of surface area or cell membrane per volume. Another thing that makes cells efficient is group behavior or working in groups. We discussed this in the previous lesson. But when organisms are working in a group, they have a higher likelihood of survival due to the sharing of resources and defenses. This is why multicellular or macroscopic organisms eventually evolve into existence. So instead of just cells getting larger and larger and larger in size to the point where they're like the size of a person or an animal, instead cells remain small, microscopic in size, and just work together to, share their resources and defenses. And some of them worked so well together that they became just one organism altogether. So the first multicellular or macroscopic organisms. And you can see some examples of those like ancient plant life and stromatolites. Thank you for watching. Please share and subscribe. And remember to spread kindness.